On a quiet morning at Dubai International Airport, a man wearing a simple white shalwar kameez and an old leather wallet in his pocket walked through Terminal 3 unnoticed by the glamorous crowds, his beard trimmed and his eyes calm, moving without fanfare or entourage. And though no one recognized him, he was in fact the billionaire owner of Falcon Skies Airlines, one of the world's top luxury carriers, and he had decided to fly incognito that day, under a pseudonym to assess how passengers were treated when they lacked wealth's visible signs. He moved through the terminal like any ordinary traveler, sipping water from a paper cup and carrying a small backpack. And as he approached the first-class check-in counter, he noticed a man, perhaps in his 40s, standing nervously at the desk, dressed plainly in loose trousers and a faded gray shirt, holding a crisp first-class boarding pass and passport in his slightly trembling hands, explaining quietly that he had saved for months to surprise someone with a journey. But the staff at the counter were whispering and giving each other doubtful looks, eventually calling over a supervisor who examined the boarding pass, frowned, and without verifying anything muttered something to a security officer nearby, which resulted in the man being told, in front of others, that he might be in the wrong line and should go check economy or business class instead. And, though he insisted that his seat was correct and even pointed to the app showing his confirmation, they guided him aside, their tone growing sharper, and allowed others to check in ahead of him. The billionaire, watching from behind a newspaper, clenched his jaw but said nothing, observing quietly, committed to witnessing without interference. And eventually the man was given a boarding pass for economy and directed away without so much as an apology or explanation. Minutes later, the billionaire, using his alias and digital pass, boarded the same flight, Falcon Skies FS 792 bound for New York, and settled into a corner seat in first class, silently studying the interactions of the crew as they welcomed other passengers, smiling more at the designer-suited ones and ignoring the rest. As the flight progressed, he noted how the staff overlooked the humble man now seated near the rear, never offering him a drink beyond the basics, nor the warm courtesy others received, and by the time they landed at JFK, the billionaire had written 3 pages of notes on his phone. Later that evening, dressed in the same modest outfit, he entered the Falcon Skies Manhattan headquarters through the employee entrance and called an emergency meeting of senior operations and crew services, where he revealed his true identity, placed the first-class boarding pass on the table, and asked sternly why a verified, full-fare first-class passenger had been downgraded and humiliated based solely on appearance. And when the staff involved struggled to respond, citing vague security concerns and passenger profiling, he interrupted and stated clearly that this behavior would not only be addressed but would become the catalyst for a sweeping reform of Falcon Skies policies on passenger dignity, unconscious bias, and frontline training. The employees involved were suspended pending retraining, and the company began immediate work on an internal code of conduct titled Human First, Class Later, which emphasized kindness, respect, and humility as non-negotiable values regardless of passenger dress, income, or demeanor. A week later, the billionaire himself visited the man in Queens, New York, where he lived in a small walk-up apartment with cracked walls and second-hand furniture, and sat with him over a cup of chai to apologize personally, thanking him for his patience and dignity in the face of mistreatment, and handing him not just a written apology but a black envelope containing a lifetime global first-class pass on Falcon Skies, with unlimited access and no restrictions, along with a quiet pledge to sponsor his children's education through a trust fund. Overwhelmed, the man tried to speak but was waved off gently as the billionaire stood to leave, saying, "You've taught this company more in one journey than consultants have in years." And he meant every word. From that day forward, a new seat protocol was introduced on all Falcon Skies flights: anonymous audits by mystery travelers, randomized passenger recognition awards, and dignity pledges signed by every crew member before duty. Reports of improved hospitality flooded social media, and though the incident that inspired it remained largely unspoken, the story of a man who boarded a flight humbly and unknowingly transformed an entire airline began circulating within staff training rooms worldwide. The billionaire, meanwhile, continued flying under aliases every few months, appearing in economy one week and business the next, always observing, always listening, never revealing himself unless necessary, and wherever he saw kindness between strangers, he quietly made notes and added bonuses to payrolls or scholarships to records, building not just a company but a legacy where service was not about silverware or lounges but about silent respect and simple honor. His mission was not fame, for he refused interviews and avoided headlines, but every time a crew member helped an elderly traveler with extra care, or a manager refunded a wronged customer without being asked, it was his quiet revolution in motion. A reminder that leadership, like flying, is not about being seen above the clouds but about how you carry those below you with grace.